What's going on, everybody? All right, another beautiful Wednesday where you are here with It Starts With Me. We've got a great podcast for you all this day. Met a wonderful individual, and he is going to bring a beautiful story. I just know it. We were talking about it, and he said, well, I don't want to say anything else. I just want to leave it all there on the show. So I don't even know what the story is going to be about, but I heard a few of the other ones and they were riveting. I loved it. He had me like in a trance. So I can't wait to hear what he's got to say. But first, all right, remember, we need your support. Keep us moving, keep us going. Like, comment, share, subscribe, follow. All right, give us a little heart. All right, we'll love to hear from you. So DM us. Remember, contact, comment, click on the form if you want to join the podcast. We got you. We'll love to speak with individuals to see if they would be a perfect fit for this show. All right. Motivational Mike Monday, every Monday at 9 o'clock Eastern. You know Mike Seville, the king of real estate, my co-host on the Community Beacon. And the Community Beacon airs every single Friday, all right, at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. So come on out there and join us. This month, we're talking about wellness. We're talking about wellness. And we had an opening piece on the last Friday. And this upcoming Friday, we're going to be talking about the body and the mind. All right, body and mind. So if you're ready for that, you want to discuss wellness with the body and mind, show on up. And then, of course, our show today, every single Wednesday, It Starts With Me, Wednesday at 12:30. This is actually pre-recorded, but it's a Wednesday show. All right, let's get ready to rumble. All right, we have in the background a gentleman by the name of Jim Sabellico. And what he loves to do is help entrepreneurs to reach their best, their highest, their height. He started a business at the age of 8, y'all. At the age of 8, he had created a business. I mean, talk about the thought process, the mindset that he must have had at the age of 8. I mean, I was playing with He-Man probably or something like that. All right, so he was running a business. I don't know where, out of his dad's garage or something like that. Maybe he'll tell us about it. All right. So from cars to camping, software, service to software, he's been around the block once or twice, and he's here with us. He's had his fair share of highs and lows, haven't we all? But he's got some stuff to tell us about. So today, currently, he spends most of his time helping entrepreneurs to find their true path and to grow their businesses so they can finally realize the life that they've been looking for, the life that they've been working for, the life that they've been working and waiting on. All right, let's bring them to the front. Come on, Jim.
What's up, everybody? It's a pleasure to be here, man. I'm delighted to be in your presence, and obviously excited to be of service to you and your audience. And just excited to be here and see where this opportunity takes us.
Awesome. We're excited as well, myself and Anna, and maybe the audience doesn't know yet, but the audience, you all should be excited. Jim, you're an extremely compassionate, driven individual. I was able to recognize that in our first conversation, and it was a blessing to be able to have that type of conversation and to look through the camera sight and see an individual who is striving for a lot of the things that I'm striving for as well. And I definitely appreciate that inside of you.
I appreciate that. It's I think it's kind of our obligation as humans here. We're here for a purpose. And I believe it's our obligation to pursue that purpose with everything we have every day. I know I told you I had a little bit of a backstory, right? I didn't really tell you at the moment because I wanted to save uh, the reaction for live, right? I I want to bring as much value and entertainment and just connect with as many people as possible. So a little bit about my backstory. If I could just dive right into it, should I just jump right in?
Yeah, come on.
All
Go
right,
for it.
here we go. So, you said when you were introduced to me, I started my first business at 8 years old. That is correct. That's actually this hat over my shoulder over here, Jimco. I started cutting grass in my neighborhood. And this wasn't like, the kid goes outside and sells lemonade in front of his house. This was an actual legitimate business with taxes, with forms, with invoices, with an accountant at 8, which was probably way overkill, but I'm a little different. So that's just the way I decided to pursue it. And, I was making probably 150 bucks a week as an 8-year-old kid, which is a lot of money as an 8-year-old kid. Um, and ever since then, I kind of had this connection with the ability to do business and to be able to both help people and generate an income. I've done all sorts of weird, random things. When I was in middle school, I used to walk people back to my house on lunch break and upload wallpapers to their phones for money. I've done a very random and weird mix of careers and money making opportunities in my life. But the interesting part that I want to kind of drive to is in 2008, I got into a real bad car accident. Basically, I was sitting still in the left-hand turning lane. 16-year-old kid had his license for about a week, was driving in the turning lane about 60 miles an hour. Didn't see me, just boom, crammed right into me. I spun through oncoming traffic. And now I don't necessarily remember this part because I pretty much blacked out at that point. But the people who saw it told me one split second sooner or later, and I would have been creamed by oncoming cars. So that experience gave me a lot of perspective that I don't necessarily wish that people got into car accidents, right? Because that's a painful experience. I don't wish that pain on anybody, but the perspective that opportunity brought to me is something that I wish everyone could really get. And to me, that perspective is your life can be over like that, like perfectly normal Friday evening, like just going to get a cup of coffee. I was pulling into a Dunkin' Donuts parking lot. Nothing crazy. I wasn't necessarily risking my life skydiving or doing drugs or anything, out of the ordinary. But a split second sooner or later, and my life would be over. And that opportunity gave me the perspective to understand a couple things. One is that I believe there was a reason why I did not get hit by oncoming traffic. I was spared from oncoming traffic to fulfill a purpose here. And I feel like because of that opportunity, because of that story, that's allowed me to really go all in on my passion of helping people and kind of pursue that purpose. Like, I think there's something to be said about having an actual obligation as a human to do the right thing. And like I said, that experience for me was a tremendous eye opener.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
that
deep.
was deep.
Definitely brought a lot of thoughts to my mind, and I understand why you wanted to kind of hold on to that. And that was 14 years ago, right?
Yep.
Around about 13, 14 years, and you've still been pursuing this trajectory. Two things that you mentioned out of that were your I believe statements. And I think that that's really important. People have to understand what their core beliefs are. And the two that you mentioned were that you have a reason, that there was a reason why you didn't get hit by those other vehicles. a reason to live, and that you have a purpose that obligates you to live. And I think that that's interesting, because sometimes what ends up happening is people are like, whew, and then they go back to the next thing. They just go back to that old walk of life. Nothing changes. Why did things change for you? Why did that hit you so hard that it made you want to change the trajectory of your life?
To be honest with you, I don't know. It wasn't instant. I'll say that it didn't necessarily click with me right away. There was a short period of time after that where I had to go through surgeries. I had to go through physical therapy. I've had to go through a lot of experiences since then to try and get back to quote unquote normal. But that mindset shift did not happen instantly, unfortunately. It took a little bit more time, and to be honest with you, I think it's probably for the best that the eventual mindset shift happened the way that it did. Shortly after that, I like the initial mindset of "Holy crap, I could be gone tomorrow," caused me to dive deeper into the money and the work part. Just thinking like I might as well make the most of it while I'm here, so let's do that. And at the surface, that seemed cool, and I was still fairly young at that point. I didn't have a family yet. I wasn't married. No kids. It was really just me. So I dove deeper into work and just trying to outpace my competitors and just achieve as much as I could possibly achieve, because that was the thing for me at that point. And the interesting part there is having the perspective to look back on it. I pursued work, and you probably heard the expression, "You have to hustle until your rivals become your competitors," or your I'm butchering the expression there, but your I'm forgetting the expression. But the point is, there were people that I used to look up to as the titans of the industry that I was in, and it got to a certain point that I was able to get to their level. And once I got to that level and actually understood who they were as people and how they got there, I sort of realized that that wasn't what I wanted, right? They didn't have the core values that I have. They didn't have the right purpose in life. And once I got to that point is sort of when I developed the perspective of I survived that accident for a reason and I have that purpose. And I still don't necessarily know exactly what that purpose is. I think a lot of people struggle to figure out what specifically their purpose is. And I don't know necessarily that we're all going to figure it out to the T. Like, I think we'll get a general direction. Like, I know what general direction I'm going in, but I have to just be obedient to what my heart tells me to do, and just keep pursuing that, and it'll become more clear over time.
Gotcha. That's powerful. That last piece, that last piece was really interesting. That you stayed obedient to your heart. Is it hustle until your idols become your rivals?
That was it. Thank you.
That's it. All right.
Yes.
So I'm with you on that, and I definitely understand that piece right there. You know, okay, so here's a couple of interesting things that I definitely want people to be able to get, because you're dropping a whole lot of jewels there, and I don't know, I don't even know if you're recognizing that you're like opening up these little caveats. But when I asked you about the why, you said it's not instant. And I think that that's important. I would love for you to dive in deeper into that, because, and I'll give you the reason why. In my experience in dealing with people and helping people out, I've recognized that even family members expect for somebody to change instantly. They're looking for the change. They're like, I can't believe such and such happened to him, such and such happened to her, or they need to just get it together right now. And maybe that's the frustrations of family members or friends or whatnot. But what you're saying and where you are today compared to where you were 14 years ago proves that sometimes it's not so instant. It's a process. What would you say about that?
I would tremendously agree. I think we have to we have to do our best to understand that even though we don't necessarily know what the final outcome is going to be, or what the final destination is going to be for us, as long as we can figure out what that next step is, then we take that next step. And like just having faith in the fact that there is a bigger picture, there is a bigger plan. And that sort of relates back to what I was saying about the accident for me, is that looking back on it, my interpretation of that is the reason why I was hit when I was hit, not a second sooner, not a second later, and saved from going through that, was because there's a purpose for me to be here. Right. And I haven't fulfilled that purpose yet. So it's not my time to go. And until I find and fulfill that purpose, I have to keep pursuing that and figuring out what that is. So I think you have to get to it over time, right? It's not going to be instant. And none of us really know the full set of answers, right? No one really understands exactly everything life has to offer. Everyone's been trying to figure out how life works forever. But all we can do is give it kind of our best guess and our best direction, and keep pursuing that, and then just making that 1% change, 1% better every day. And over time, we're going to learn more. It's going to help shape our direction. It's going to help shape our final destination and our path and who we are meant to become. And I think that that's just something that has to happen slowly over time.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. So tell me, how did you deal with that process mentally? Like, walk me through a little bit of that mentally.
Um, Mentally, it's not easy, and it's still not easy. But honestly, up until maybe even as recent as a year ago, I don't think I had a great grasp on it. And I'm sure that even in a year from now, I'll say I've gotten better at it. Um, I think the hardest part there is finding people who understand and who have that same mindset. And a lot of people are not willing to be genuinely kind with each other. It's very easy for us all to judge other people and what they should do in a certain scenario. Like you talked about family members, with relationships, with friends, even with strangers on the internet. Like it's easy for us to go and write a hateful comment at someone on Facebook because we think they should be doing something differently. But none of us really understand the scenario that they're in. Um, we don't understand the things that we can't see. We don't understand things that they're dealing with, things that they've had in their past. And finding the people to put around you in your life that are going to be genuine, who are going to support you, who are going to love and appreciate you and make you feel seen and heard, is tremendously important. But I think the side note of that is you also have to be one of those people for the people in your life. Like you have to be the type of person that is going to make the people around you feel loved, seen, appreciated, and heard. And when you do that, you can lift up those people, and in return, they're going to lift you right back up.
Okay, that's powerful. That's powerful. So going back to when you were 8 all the way up until now, it seems as if all that you've been doing has had some type of relationship building in it. Whether it was um, cutting grass, you had to go out and meet people. You had to gain their trust in order to cut their grass. I had a business like that too. Mine didn't last as long as yours did. And I wasn't as young either. And then also, when you got into grade school, you started to bring people home on the lunch break to upload wallpapers. That takes another relationship technique, um, developing those relationships. So it appears to me that you were always in it to give your piece of the relationship. Has it always been like that in reverse? Have you found that you can trust many people?
No. Um, and I hesitate to answer that question because not too many people are immediately trustworthy. And I think that that's because a lot of people have selfish interest because that's just the environment that they're surrounded in. Like that's how they were raised. They're not, unfortunately, people who are trustworthy and genuine and do the right thing are not that easy to come by anymore. So I think you have to be able to kind of see through people's masks that they wear, to who they really are, because a lot of people deep down truly are trustworthy people. They just maybe they don't even see it yet themselves. So I think you have to be able to kind of be willing to trust someone first and kind of open up that relationship, right? The thing with trust is you can't prove if someone's trustworthy or not unless you are willing to trust them. So I think you really have to be willing to be that genuine person, be willing to put yourself out there and be so confident in who you are as a person that you're willing to go out there and entertain these people, to talk to them, to make those relationships, uh, because you know what your core values are and who you are as a person. And we talked about this a little bit the other day about a rising tide lifts all boats, and that's something that my grandfather told me when I was a little kid. And I've always sort of just kept that close to me. It's always been a principle that I've used to judge what I should do in a scenario. And I think that same thing applies here. Like you have to be able to look at a scenario and figure out, how can I help this other person? And it doesn't necessarily have to be, what do they have in it for me? Because that's not really kindness. That's, you're doing business at that point. You still have some selfish interest there. But if you can figure out, how do I help this other person in a way that genuinely helps them? Almost always there's a scenario where it may not be immediate. It may be 5 years in the future, but it'll always come back and do the right thing. It'll always help you or someone else who's somewhat connected to you. I think just putting out that positivity and those good vibes, for lack of a better term, to the people around you will help build those relationships in a way that's more meaningful than just a straight transactional relationship.
So then, would you say that you believe that we have more control than what we think as people, as humans? We have more control than what we may perceive with the relationships that we build?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think a lot of people look at relationships too frequently as transactional, and they often don't think about the fact that they're dealing with other people. As harsh as the thing that is to say, like when you drive in through Starbucks and you just order a coffee and they hand it to you and you say goodbye, you're forgetting that the person who took your order and who handed you your coffee has a life and a family, and they might be going through something too. And not that you have to be best friends with everybody, but taking 2 seconds out of your day to just genuinely care about that person that you're interacting with is another human, right? That other human that you're dealing with has their own whole other life with moving parts, just like you do. So the more intentional you are about building those relationships and being genuine with other people, I think that really gives you more control over how to build those relationships where it's not just very cold and transactional. I think the people get in this mindset where it's just, they're so focused on what's in front of them, they forget about everyone else.
Yeah, that's powerful. So you made me think of something. Sometimes I watch a movie or hear some music or I'll read a book or something. But this time it was a movie that I recently saw, and it was called Free Guy. In that movie, it was based off of an AI program that was developed, that was created to have the power to learn on its own inside of a community. And everyone in that community could do the exact same thing. So as they made these transactions and as they built these relationships, the code would change in each AI. That whole program was stolen and placed inside of a different program that did not give them the power to change, except for one being. One being had this power that if somebody were to say certain things to it, it would have quote unquote feelings and would change his program naturally. The reason why I brought that up is because it's almost as if in this, I'm getting this from the way you described it through Starbucks. In this life that we live in, sometimes we as people walk through life as if everyone else is just meant to serve us. I don't know if that's exactly where you're going with it, but it's, you go into the Starbucks and you're there because those people are meant to serve you. If they don't do that coffee right, shame on them for not knowing what you wanted, or shame on them for not listening to what you are saying, because they're not allowed to make a mistake. If you go inside of a restaurant, shame on them because they weren't able to get it together. They're not allowed to have a bad day, and that just goes everywhere. But what you're saying is, what I believe you're saying, and what I feel coming from you, which I agree with, is that being human, we have more control over the relationship than what we may have recognized in the beginning. And we can make that person's day just as much as they can make our day good. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I strongly agree. And I think sometimes even more so because they're so unfortunately kind of beat into this position where they're acting like a robot. They're there just to serve. They're there just to do whatever you need. And they sort of even lose their own personality in the fact that they have their own creative individuality and they should be able to kind of express themselves and be who they really are and live a full life too. Just because they're there serving your coffee doesn't make them any less important than anybody else, right? All of us here serve a role. And I think the more that we can understand literally every moving piece in that puzzle plays an equally important part. Just because one person's a CEO at a company and another person's janitor doesn't mean anyone's less important or more important than the other person, right? And I think we lose sight of that just because of the societal norms that we're stuck in. All of us are here to help elevate each other. And the more that we can find ways to come together and understand that the people that we interact with are people, right? Our goal, and this is the way that I operate my web design marketing agency, is we're not there to build you a website, right? Anyone can build a website. It's not that hard. Our role and our responsibility is to help you build a successful business that's going to feed your grandkids. And that's the way that we treat that. And I think if more people and more businesses looked at what the impact of their actions was, I'm not just going to take money from you, build your website and say, see you later. It doesn't serve me, right? It serves me to be able to build you a successful business that's going to then serve you, your employees, their families, because the impact of that thing, the impact of that transaction and that relationship is so much deeper than we look at on the surface. And I think a problem there is a lot of people look at the website, they look at the one transaction and not, if I do a really good job for you, it's going to impact your life and the families of your employees for the next 25, 30 years. Just because I had a better purpose in what I was doing and I was purpose driven, not money driven, not transaction driven. Right. And I think that's the shift that people need to have, is to understand there is a purpose placed on your life to fulfill. And it doesn't matter what it is. Again, could be building websites, could be making coffee, could be anything. But when you can serve in your purpose and serve the people who you interact with on that level, I think that's when the real change happens. And that's when you're able to make that big impact. And people need to realize that.
That was beautiful. Microphone drop, y'all. Absolutely. I mean, that's it, man. I mean, I felt that. That's not just your purpose. I'm sure you understand that, but that was passionately stated. This is what you feel. This is what you believe. I could feel your heartbeat in that, in your explanation. As soon as you said purpose, everything changed. I could feel that change. And I definitely appreciate you sharing that with us. I mean, listen, y'all, this man is here. He's available. He's got purpose behind what he's doing. I want you all to look him up. Look him up in the description. And if you need a website built or you just need somebody to talk to and help walk you through some things, I'm sure he's available. How can people
100%.
get in, how can people get in contact with you, Jim?
Best way is either probably Facebook, Instagram. Shoot me an email. Uh, I'm sure you got my website up there. People will be able to any way that you could possibly try and reach out to me. You'll grab a hold of me. I am as available as possible. May not always be instant, but I will always get back to you.
Awesome. And of course, you can always contact us at Tenacity Foundation if you're unable to get to him any other way. And we keep his information so we can reach out to you, Jim, as well on behalf of those that need your services. I believe I have somebody currently that I'd like to discuss you meeting as well. Yeah.
Let's do it, man. Rising tide lifts all boats. Happy to help.
There it is again. I almost forgot about that. That's a powerful one right there. Rising tide lifts all boats. So, do you have any final comments that you'd like to share?
Um, Final thoughts. I think the only advice I could possibly give to someone would just be authentically yourself and be okay with it. Like I think a lot of people they're afraid to be who they truly are because they're afraid of what people think. They're afraid of people judging them. They may not even know who they really are yet, but we're all figuring it out. Like that's the thing that a lot of people need to understand is that no one has the answers to this. We are all here for a short period of time trying to figure it out while we're here. So be authentically yourself because tomorrow is not promised for anyone. And you need to just be all in on who you are as your own self because there's no one on earth who can do it better than you. And the people who don't appreciate you for who you are not people that you want in your corner anyway. And I promise you there are a number of people who will support you. And I'll stand up as one of them if you need somebody. There are people who will support you for who you are, what you love, what you believe in, and what your purpose is. And you need to just be authentically yourself.
Awesome, man. Awesome. I hope to have you back out on the show again, maybe later on in the year. We can catch
Be a
back
pleasure.
up. Awesome. Everybody, that's Jim Sabellico. All right. Jim Sabellico. Want you all to definitely look him up. Make sure you get in touch with him, and we'll have all of his information inside of the description. Thank you again, Jim, for being on the program. It starts with me.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Listen, you all, Jim, I told you he was a gem. He was a gem. And he is like this apparently all the time. The last time I spoke with him, he was very charismatic, very compassionate. This is just the individual that he is. That is what you get when you have Jim with you. And I think that that's important because many people are out there looking for websites, and normally getting a website is the same thing as going to Walmart and purchasing a TV. You just get the TV, you bring it home, and if it doesn't work, there's really nobody to go and talk to about it. You've got to figure it out on your own, or take it back. But this, but being with Jim, you're going to get what you need. You're going to get some good things, and he's going to help you the entire course. Not only that, but he cares, and that's rare to have someone who cares on the opposite side that's taking care of you. So I 100% support Joe and his endeavors, and I'm looking forward to speaking with him more. Please remember, change is not instant. Mindset shift is not instant. This is what Jim is talking about. I 100% agree with him. It takes time. But remember, when it all comes down to it, it doesn't start with everybody else. You want to develop that good relationship, it doesn't start with them. It starts with you, just like it starts with me. Peace.